would your best lineup have Harden, Kawhi, and Paul George in it? Most likely, I guess, going into camp today, if you added him without, we'll say this theoretical piece, they don't lose anybody. What does it look like? He's part of their top 5, I'm assuming.
I would think he would be. I think they would try and explore what it would look like to have Russ, James, PG, Kawhi, and Ivica Zubac. Ivica Zubac is like, I said there was one starting spot that was open for the Clippers going into camp. The point guard Russ, the 2 stars on the wing, PG and Kawhi. If it's Zubac, even though they re-signed Mason Plumlee, look at what the number they got Mason Plumlee back for and what they extended Zoo for the previous offseason. Zoo is a rock solid starter. He's a rim protector, one of the better rim protectors in the league. If you look positionally, he does a great job. And when that dude is just asked to finish possessions, he's really good at that. Like, obviously, Zoo's quite limited. You don't want him to do anything outside the paint. He's not one of the stronger passers in the league. He's not the most mobile guy in the league, but that dude is young, durable, and just incredibly good difference making. You want to know why the Sacramento Kings dropped 176 points in that one double overtime game? Who wasn't playing? Ivica Zubac. So that is a position that is set. James is like, if you add James, your goal is to consolidate some of the flotsam you have at the 4, and then you're going to have a spot open because Marcus Morris Sr. has been the starting 4 for this team anytime he's been healthy for pretty much his entire Clippers tenure. There are instances where he hasn't been, including the end of this past regular season and the beginning of the playoffs, but that's the spot. And you would have James there from a lineup perspective. Kawhi and PG, the difference between those guys and so many other stars in the NBA, those guys came into the league being off-ball players. Okay, Paul George, when Frank Vogel had to take over for Jim O'Brien rookie season, Paul was barely even allowed to shoot the damn ball. And Kawhi came up under Pop. If you got, those are great stars to be like, okay, if we need you on the ball heavy, obviously they're great at doing that. But those guys love to pick their spots, and they actually welcome that. That's why both of those guys were like, hey, let's have a real point guard here, even though you guys think it might be less efficient sometimes. It's making those guys more sustainable because those guys not just have to focus on what their role is off the ball offensively, but then defensively, those guys are your best defenders and your best rebounders. There's a workload component to all of that. You talk about innings eating, right, Dave? James would be the guy who, if those guys need a break or those guys want to run different actions, you're going to ask Kawhi to be in the mid post. You're going to ask Paul George to come off screened actions. James is a guy who can run all that stuff and allow those guys to focus on getting to their spots.
Yeah. And
in addition to Russ.
And do it without coughing the ball up too much, which is just, valuing the basketball is really important.